5. Dean. When I was 18 years old, I took a surprise right hook to the jaw during an amateur match that sent me sprawling to the ground. Every boxer takes a bad one early in their career and learns something from it. I learned that I didn't like having my goddamn head snapped back without warning. But before that hook, I didn't think you could take a punch that had you seeing stars. That one made me a believer. I laid flat on my back that night in a world of pain, and the entire fucking solar system spun around my face. Tabitha Tyler falling into my lap at Benny's bar had me believing again. One minute I was studying the screen, pissed off at the loud asshole next to me. The next, a gorgeous redhead toppled into my arms, and even though I hadn't seen her in years, the very second she aimed that shiny smile my way, I was nothing but a dazed teenager again. Of all the laps in this damn city, I had to fall into yours, she said in her low, melodic voice. I blinked at her. Blinked again. My mouth went dry as a desert. My body shivered with jittery nerves. I didn't want to stare. Could only take in quick glimpses of her pale white skin, freckles and delicate tattoos, dark red hair, those big brown eyes. Tabitha? My voice came out strangled, like she was an illusion I couldn't trust. She winked at me. Tabitha Tyler, former head cheerleader and popular senior girl, the source of my long, hopeless crush, winked at me. Stars exploded across my eyes. So did the planets, the moon, the sun. I wasn't prepared to take a hit like this. Could only try not to let my jaw hang open at the shock. The one and only, she said, still smiling. Nice to see you, Dean Knox Morelli. Her body shifted in my lap, wiggled around, and I learned the true meaning of the word willpower. Although word on the street is you go by Dean the Machine now, and I have to say, that nickname is badass. Is that what I should call you? Or something more formal like Mr. Machine? I was speechless. Though my brain was saying, what the actual fuck is happening? So, Mr. Machine it is then. She brushed her hair over her shoulder. I did not stare at the curve of her throat. I like it. It's formal, respectful, commands a certain amount of authority. Though I've known you for like a million years, so maybe it's a little weird. But this is South Philly. Who haven't we known for our entire lives? An embarrassing memory floated up. A dozen exchanges like this one, in school hallways or walking down the street or after the support group we'd attended together. Tabitha talking to me as if she had no idea who she was and no understanding of how I wasn't deserving. Hi, I managed to say. It was the one word I could rescue from the chaos of my thoughts. She bit her lip, looking almost shy for a second. Hi. A beat of silence passed between us, one where the door of a bizarre reality opened and I was a regular guy at the local bar sitting with his very pretty girlfriend in his lap. A girlfriend with bare skin warm against mine, the tips of my fingers grazing the top of her thigh, her smell of sweet oranges all around us. Not that I don't appreciate you catching me, but, you can, you know? Her eyebrow was lifted, teasing, and then her fingers pressed against my arms. The arms locked tight around her waist. I cleared my throat and quickly released her. I'm so sorry, I don't... She slid easily from my legs to the chair right next to me, her bare knees pressed against me in the crowded space. One of my dreams has always been to fall into the lap of a famous athlete. I should be thanking you for making a girl's dream come true. The solar system drifted across my face again. I felt like a fried circuit breaker. Next to me, the very drunk, very loud guy spun around and directed his attention toward the two of us. "Oh shit, did I trip you, doll?" he slurred. "You want to let me buy you a drink or—" I turned my face slowly toward his with the energy I once brought into the ring. I didn't say a word, only stared. He flinched, face ruddy, stepping back and then farther away. You know what? I'm gonna go over here. Sorry about that, Dean. And Dean's lady." I waited until he disappeared before turning around to find Tabitha with a bemused smirk on her face. "My dad told me you were a pro boxer. He didn't mention that you could literally scare a man with a scowl." She sat up straighter and raised her chin. "It's an honor to now be known as Dean's lady. Do you know what the requirements are to be your lady? Do I appear at all your matches and wave my hand like a queen? I'm not super into wearing a crown, but obviously I've rocked a tiara before, and I'd be more than willing to wear one for you." My lips wanted to tug into a smile. Tabitha always had that effect on me. "It's nice to see you," I said. She dropped her chin into her hand. "You too. I guess it's been, what, since I graduated, right? So 9 years or so? Fuck me. I missed you. How are you? What's new? Everything, I'm assuming." My fingers gripped my beer bottle tightly enough to shatter it. It was the shape of her lips saying, "Fuck me," followed by a phrase I never thought I'd hear her say. I missed you. But she was always like that in school and around the neighborhood. Friendly, warm. Hell, I'd clocked 5 other former classmates here in the bar tonight. She would probably say, "I missed you" to them too. "I'm okay," I finally said. "What are you doing here? Home for a visit?" She nodded and ran her fingers through her red hair. It was shoulder-length and wavy. She had a ring in her nose and flowers tattooed down her left arm. She had the same cluster of freckles across the bridge of her nose, but more freckles now on the tops of her shoulders. "I'm back for a little longer than my usual whirlwind weekend. A whole 2 weeks this time," she said, eyes searching mine like she really had missed me. "Before this, I was out in Sacramento working on a video series about a nonprofit that helps middle school students publish their stories and poetry. They hold these glamorous publishing events where the students read their work in front of an audience. There were photo shoots and autograph signings. It was maybe the cutest thing I've ever seen. And I once spent a week in St. Louis where I literally filmed rescue puppies all day." I was having a hard time keeping up. Tabitha was making movies about puppies, not in L.A., and most importantly, back home for a bit. Chris, the bartender, walked past and grabbed my empty bottle. "You want another one of these?" he asked. I made eye contact with Tabitha. I'd already had 1 drink. 2 would be a mistake with the grueling workout I had planned at dawn the next morning. She was chewing on her lip, flushed. "I'm down to stay for another if you are. We could always share a cocktail." "Share? A drink?" "A bold concept, I know," she said. "Is there a delicious cocktail that you like?" My lips twitched. "Yingling." She laughed. "Philly's most famous beer is your favorite cocktail, huh?" I lifted a shoulder. "I like what I like." Her eyes narrowed playfully. "Only 25 and already firmly set in your ways. Such a curmudgeon, Mr. Machine." Chris sighed. "I don't got all fucking night for you two to flirt. Are you having anything or not?" Only the fact that I'd known Chris for years kept me from doing some version of the scowl. Besides, Tabitha was from this neighborhood and could hold her own against an asshole bartender. "I've already been drinking tequila, so I think a margarita is the one true path forward," she said. "Can you make one with salt on the rim for the 2 of us to share while flirting all fucking night?" Chris scoffed, but then relented. "Yeah, sure. Is the cheap stuff okay with you?" "Oh, definitely." The second he was out of earshot, she turned back to me. "What a charmer." "Want me to scowl at him for you?" She touched the center of her chest. "I am Dean's lady, after all, and you can have half of my margarita if you want it." I shifted in my chair. "I don't usually have more than I should." "Ah," she said. "Are you still on that strict regimen because of your training?" Chris returned and placed a margarita on the table, then left without a word. Tabitha brightened, her tongue darting out to taste the salt. Her eyes closed with satisfaction. I was grateful she was no longer sitting in my lap. "Yeah, something like that," I said. Once I knew I was going pro, I gave in to the structure and restrictions that came with elite-level training 6 days a week. As a teenager, I adopted a classic boxer's diet: meat, vegetables, carbs. No sugar, no soda, very little alcohol. I didn't indulge because I knew how it would make my body feel later, and that wasn't a risk I enjoyed taking. And when I was near the height of my career, wasn't a risk I even wanted. There was too much riding on each victory. Money, reputation, and the weight of the fans sharpening my focus. The fight nights might have stopped, but my diet and workouts hadn't. A weird vestige I hadn't been able to give up. Tabitha held the cocktail across the table. "Do you do cheat days?" I shook my head. "Never?" "Never," I said. She studied me over the salted rim of her glass. My shoulder blades rippled with restrained motion. Having Tabitha Tyler across the table from me, legs touching mine, tempting me into drinking alcohol with her, was urging me toward actions I'd never had the courage to take. To place my lips and tongue where hers had been. To enjoy the tart lime, the burn of tequila. To overindulge because it didn't always have to mean anything. "Mr. Machine?" I blinked, muscles flexing in response to the husky tone of her voice. "You go ahead and have the whole thing. Thank you for the offer, though." She held my gaze. "No getting a little wild for you, then?" I cut my attention to my phone. "It's now 30 minutes past my bedtime. You're seeing me at my most spontaneous." She reached for my wrist. "It's truly an honor to witness this debauchery. I only hope being seen with you while you're so clearly out of control doesn't besmirch my innocent and angelic reputation around here." I chuckled softly and looked away, sure she was a fever dream. But when I let my eyes rise back up, there she was, beautiful, happy, and very real. "Tabitha," I said. She was knocking her drink back. "What's up?" "I'm not a boxer anymore." I scratched the back of my head. "My workouts are grueling, but I'm not training. I retired 3 years ago. I'm just Dean now." She placed her glass down gently, licked her lips. "When we were in school, I thought just Dean was pretty awesome. Did you retire for good reasons or hard reasons?" My knee jumped up and down beneath the table. No one ever asked me that. "Hard reasons." "Well, that sucks." Her candor startled a smile from me. "You're from here. You can imagine," I waved my hand around me. "The city of brotherly love does not, in fact, love any of its athletes," she said. "Maybe I should be going around scowling on your behalf instead. Or I can use the pepper spray I carry. That works just as well, if not better." I turned my attention to the giant TV to give my brain a second to catch up. In school, the nicer Tabitha was to me, the more nervous I got, stammering through one-word answers to her friendly questions. But while she was off filming movies or whatever, I was stuck in a fucking rut, hanging around the neighborhood bar with nothing to show for it. I wasn't embarrassed by my injury or my decision to retire. I was embarrassed because I wasn't doing shit and I knew it. "It's all fine, though," I said, hoping I sounded casual and not like I was totally lying. "It was a great career while it lasted. I'm happy." "Good," she said.
I'm so glad to hear it. Am I embarrassing myself if I admit that I've never seen you compete before? Like seen any of your videos or anything?
I kept my face impassive. Wait, you're not my biggest fan?
Biggest fan?
That's what I heard around the block. She went still.
How is that possible? I don't really even watch sports.
I sniffed. Your dad told me you never missed a match. Used to make me feel proud knowing you were out there watching me, that I had a hometown fan who believed in me. Those gorgeous eyes went wide as saucers.
My dad said what?
I stayed silent. Her mouth scrunched up to the side.
I'm so sorry. There must be some mistake. Are you mad? Please don't be mad. I'll go home and watch them all on YouTube. I don't know what my dad was talking about. You know, he's over the grill all day at the diner and there's, like, a lot of fumes and stuff. Maybe it's affecting his memory? Oh my God, this is next level awkward.
I managed not to smile at her rambling, but just barely. She was adorable. A word I never used, but I did maintain eye contact until she realized what I was doing. Dropping her face into her hands, she laughed, the sound muffled. Then she fluttered her fingers to her red cheeks.
You're joking, aren't you?
Should I tell your dad you're concerned about those grill fumes? She tipped her head back on another laugh loud enough to garner a few stares. But those same stares saw me and immediately dipped away. I didn't care. This golden feeling of making Tabitha Tyler laugh was brand new and wouldn't last. I knew not to put much faith in it beyond the present moment.
You really had me going there for a minute,
She admitted, brushing the hair from her forehead.
I will watch your fight soon, because you've got my interest piqued, and I'm sure you are amazing to see in action.
Pride warmed the center of my chest. I hadn't experienced that in a while. The side door opened and 3 more groups of noisy fans streamed in. The volume level grew louder. Tabitha leaned all the way across the table and placed her mouth at my ear. My heart stuttered to a stop. My mind exploded with sensory details, and not of the solar system variety. Soft skin, oranges in her hair, the dent in her bottom lip, the swell of her breasts, although I tore my eyes away to stare up at the ceiling.
It's getting too loud in here,
She whisper-yelled.
Want to walk me home?
I must have grunted out an answer, too stunned for real words. She motioned for me to follow her. The bar patrons parted for her easily, less because of my presence, more because there was confidence in every step she took. There always had been. And as I followed close behind, I hoped I didn't look as eager and hopeless as she always made me feel. Because those few classmates I'd spotted shot me discreet looks as Tabitha swayed past. It didn't take much effort to interpret them. Maybe if things were different, maybe if I was still in the ring, taking what I wanted, winning all the damn time, being around a high school crush wouldn't have even registered. But things weren't different, and Tabitha wasn't any old crush. She was the crush. And only home for a minute before chasing those dreams of hers far from South Philly. It didn't matter if tonight she tumbled into my lap or laughed at a rare joke. This was all temporary for her, and she was permanently out of my league.